to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that cannot wait for the next chapter in the long, storied rivalry between the Padres and the Mariners. I'm Dallas, that's Matt, and that's Drew. And later we will talk a little bit about MLB Rivalry Weekend coming up here as we record this. We're looking forward to that. First time we're trying out something there, and we've got some fun matchups to talk about. So maybe we'll talk about those a little bit. A little later on than that, we'll talk about the NFL schedule release and what that means for a lot of teams. We'll give our gut reactions to some of these matchups, which we've known about for a long time, but now it's officially scheduled and primetime games are ready to go. So we'll talk about that. We will also build our dream roster for 2026 Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. But first, before we get to all that, our warm-ups for today is probably the biggest story in baseball this week, which is that early this week as we record this, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, Commissioner Rob Manfred changed the rules for ineligibility. And as a result of this rule change, among others, Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, who were previously on a lifetime ban list, have been removed from the banned list and, among other things, are now eligible for Hall of Fame induction, et cetera, et cetera. This was a big decision that was sort of hinted at about a month ago. Rob Manfred said he may be considering the reinstatement of Pete Rose. Specifically, he was asked about him. So we want to talk about that. So just to run down the facts real quick, the players were removed from the ban list due to a change in the definition of what makes a player ineligible. So this was not a direct action to remove these specific players from the list. Rob Manfred changed the rule, and when the rule changed, they fell off the list. Now this rule was changed to help them fall off the list, to be sure. And so, that is the direct result of it. And just to quote a little bit of what Manfred put out in a statement, he said that in his view, this is the part of this decision that everyone's talking about. In his view, once an individual has passed away, the purposes of Rule 21, which revolves around protecting the integrity of the game and creating a deterrent effect to discourage future players from violating in the same way another player did, the purposes of that rule have been served once the player has passed away. So basically, if you're on the ineligible list, but then you pass away, you can come off the ineligible list because, the effects of the rule have been served. So we want to talk about this. Just want to get your guys' gut reactions to this when you heard the news. We'll start with Drew.
Yeah, well, my gut reaction was really just like it was kind of eye-rolly, because I'm one of the people that I'm kind of tired of hearing about Pete Rose. Um, I get it as someone who is a big fan of, like, let's say Barry Bonds, someone who also has a major record in Major League Baseball, who is not in the Hall of Fame for, actions he did, outside of the playing field, basically. I get wanting your guy to be in the Hall of Fame. But Pete Rose, everyone knows how great of a player he was. Everyone also kind of knows what a jerk he was. Like, he rubbed people the wrong way. There's some criminal background that is not fun to look up. And the reason he was banned from baseball was, as a manager, he was betting on baseball games, which is rule number one. You cannot do. They pounded into the players from, when they first start out in the league. And so to me, it's like that's the punishment that we've always had for these kind of crimes. And I think it was fair for Pete Rose. And I get people wanting it to be done with. He passed away not too long ago, so now we can see what happens Hall of Fame wise. But really, I saw it as more of Rob Manfred taking the responsibility out of his own hands and putting the responsibility on Hall of Fame voters and people who decide to, honor players in different ways. And we saw it with Pete Rose's old team, the Reds. The day of the announcement, they had all the shirts in the locker room of, like, Pete Rose. So they weren't really allowed to do stuff with him because he was banned. So I don't know. I'm kind of tired of the Pete Rose conversation, and I feel like this is just the beginning of a whole nother slew of articles and interviews and debates, and I'm just kind of over it.
Yeah, I fully agree with that take on it of like I'm not an older baseball fan. I have not been around for, years and years. But even I feel like a lot of the talk in baseball when you're trying to just, enjoy the sport is around older generation guys and guys who have already been here. They've done their time, they've done whatever, whether that's good or bad, positive or negative experience. It just feels like we can never just move forward and just like be not like be present, but like there is just something about this like the decision was already made. And if you want to change the interpretation and the reasons for that being are, for future, incidents of something, then sure, go for it. But like it making it into a whole thing, like the only reason I heard about this even changing is because people were talking about the unbannings that happened due to it. And I don't know if that's like the reason they wanted to do the unbannings, but at the same time, like it's where we are and it's the conversation that's happening. Um, I don't know. I From an outside perspective, I kind of think it's dumb to unban someone if you gave them a lifetime ban. And I understand, like the actual quote of, he's no longer living, so he's served the lifetime ban, I guess. But like, I don't know. It's so hard because I just do feel like if you're a shitty person, you probably don't need to get into the Hall of Fame if you already have such controversy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question around who what kind of person or people is this decision rewarding? You know,
Yeah.
what sort of folks have been sort of rallying around Pete Rose recently, and what folks does he has he welcomed in when he was living to his circle? I think that there's a discussion to be had there. But what I want to ask next is we can bring Shoeless Joe Jackson into this part because I think their cases are a little bit different. And when you think about this question, but what does this do for these two players' chances at the Hall of Fame? For players who did not make it in their initial eligibility, the rules are different. So maybe we can start there, and then just quickly, and then talk about what this could mean for those two players in this place. So Drew, take it from here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt it has a positive effect on their Hall of Fame chances because before there was literally zero chance. They were not eligible, they could not be in the Hall of Fame. Now at least they are eligible. So that automatically makes it, their chances are up. Um, yeah, like you said, it's a different system versus when players first retire, than like later on. There's different ways to make the Hall of Fame. So the regular way is you retire from playing, and then 5 years go by, and they decide your career was notable enough to be on the ballot. And then baseball writers who are, card carrying members of the Writers Association get to vote on who they think should be in the Hall of Fame and who shouldn't. It's just a simple yes no um, checkbox system. If you get a certain percentage, I think it's over 75% of the vote, you are in. If you fall off the ballot, it's a whole different thing. I'm not an expert on this, but the way I understand it is they divide it into eras. So it's like, the 80s and 90s would be a group, and then they have names, but, it's time periods.
Yeah.
And every year, a different time period is up for having some more players inducted, players who missed it on the first try. Uh, and there's usually, I think, like it's something like 10 names or something that they choose from. And those are voted on by a group of former players, former coaches, former front office people. And it's just a small group. I think it's only 16 people get to vote. And I don't know exactly how they determine it, but it's basically their peers are deciding. And so I don't love that because it's basically a popularity contest at that point, which, to some extent I trust players, I trust coaches. Like, well, I played with this guy. I think he was a Hall of Fame player. I trust that. However, we've seen the bar lowered a little bit for certain Hall of Famers getting in that way, and also certain guys that definitely should be in and just don't have the support from their peers for whatever reason. Like, that'll be, if Barry Bonds ever gets in, that'll be how. And I highly doubt he'll ever get in because I don't think his peers liked him very much. Um, so I think Pete Rose will be in the Hall of Fame next time he's eligible. He'll be on the ballot. I think that it'll be full of guys who looked up to him or really admired his play style or what have you, who think it's long overdue, and I think he'll be in. Joe Jackson is an interesting case because he's so long ago. That scandal, I mean, it's kind of unfathomable. Like imagining that now of finding out that a team literally threw a championship. They were being paid to throw a World Series. Um,
Yeah.
but anyone who's seen Field of Dreams has a soft spot for shoeless Joe Jackson. So it won't bother me so much if he makes it into the Hall of Fame. But I honestly have no idea what the vibes are with him in his case, and who votes on that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I completely agree. I think at the end of the day, we're going to see these guys get into the Hall of Fame. Like, you know, Drew was just telling me right before this, like, Pete Rose is literally the all-time hit leader. All-time hit leaders get into the Hall of Fame. All-time leaders in most major categories of any sport make their Hall of Fame. So he's going to make the Hall of Fame. I think there's no doubt about that. And like Drew said, this is obviously like, you know, inherently a positive for him when it comes to his case because he could not do it before. So I agree with that. I mean, there's not much else to say. I don't have a ton of like context, again, as I said, of like a lot of this older baseball stuff. So I do lean into like you and Drew and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's so interesting. Like, it sucks that this could lead to someone like Pete Rose getting in rather than someone like Barry Bonds and his whole situation, just because it turns it, like Drew said, into a popularity contest and kind of into an ego contest. Like, it's just a giant like ego thing because Barry Bonds is the greatest player ever. Like, anyone that watched him would probably also say the same thing. And because he's accused of steroids and the whole thing, and I'm not going to get into the did he not. That's a different conversation, but it's just like he, even before the like accusation started, like he was still the best player. And so it sucks. I would have loved to see this have more of a widespread reach, I guess, to let guys like that in. And it sucks thinking like we're gonna get these kind of like shitty people in, yet some of the like great players that we've seen just because of the era they played in won't.
I think, yeah, like one final thought on this whole thing is that it um, it begs the question of like, first of all, how egregious of a baseball crime do you have to commit to be banned forever? You know,
Mhm.
is it even possible? And if you're passing the buck and you're gonna let the voters police things, then it's like we're gonna find out what's important to voters and what's not.
Yeah.
Is a what is a deal breaker and what is not. And I think we're gonna find that off the field stuff doesn't really matter to the players so much. That's my prediction. And the stuff that affected you on the field, like steroid use, I think you'll still be punished for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. I believe that Pete Rose's and Joe Jackson's vote doesn't come up again until 2027, I think, is when that era is up next. So it won't be for a while that we'll know what happens here, but it'll be interesting to follow as things go on. I'm sure everybody who would possibly be included in that, we'll hear from them over the next couple of years a lot. People will try to seek them out and ask them what they think, try to get a read on it. But for now, this is something that's happening for sure. And, I didn't even think about the Field of Dreams of it all. Those guys can rest now. Those games have ceased. They're free. All right. So that's our warm up for today. So let's go into our MLB segment. We've got all of our favorite segments coming up later. Fan Corner, Locked In, things like that will come up. But we want to spend our time today. Look, we had some big news about the Team USA for the World Baseball Classic this week, and that is that Paul Skeens, one of the best pitchers in the majors, depending on who you ask, maybe the best, he agreed to join the Team USA and pitch for Team USA in the WBC. This marks, one of the first times we've seen somebody of his caliber pitch for Team USA, or at least commit to pitching for Team USA. It's not until 2026. A lot can happen, knock on wood, but right now he committed to play for the team. And so we have him anchoring the pitching staff. And then we also know already that we have Aaron Judge anchoring the offensive side of the ball. So those two guys are in, and we wanted to take a chance before more roster spots get filled, which may not happen for a while, but just to make sure, we want to take the opportunity to make a dream roster of our own. We like the WBC here. We've been to some games. This podcast has been to some WBC games in our day. And so we like that. We loved the last World Baseball Classic, ending in that, wonderful game between Japan and US. And so, yes, we are building ostensibly the team that is going to try and beat Japan to try to take the title here this next time around. So that's what we're going to do. The rules will go, there's usually between about 28 and 30 players on the roster. And so we want to focus on our starting nine. We'll pick 4 additional starting pitchers in addition to Paul Skeens, who's already on the team, and 2 relievers, and then 5 bench position players is what we'll pick. And so what we've done is Drew and Matt have compiled a list that they made. And so we're going to go through their lists and see where we overlap, see where we differ, and we'll talk about, those things along the way as we go position by position. Just a quick note here, good coaching staff for Team USA so far. We have, we already know that Mark DeRosa is going to be the manager. He managed the last team. He brought Skip Schumacher on as B's bench coach, a manager of the year. Andy Pettit coming back for pitching coaching. Matt Holliday going to be a hitting coach. So a lot of notable names, being on the coaching staff here, which is a good start to get some players of big names involved. One thing I didn't mention, but you are allowed to either put Judge at DH or outfield. So if you want to include 3 straight up outfielders, you can do that and put him at DH. Or if you want to bring in a DH and put Judge in the outfield, you can do that too. So that was a rule that we made before we compiled these. So without further ado, let's get into it. And let's start with, let's just start with position. Let's go 1 through 9. So let's start with, we'll start after Drew's comment here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know if this is cheating or not, but my preface is like I'm dreaming big. I'm picking the roster that I want to see, not necessarily the one I expect to see. But it is a good sign that Aaron Judge, the best American player right now, already signed up, like Trout did a few years ago. He's the captain. And Paul Skeens, who is young, got a lot of mileage left on that arm, is not afraid of risking injury for this, which has been the issue. We haven't been able to get the really dominant starting pitchers to commit to this tournament. So it's already a good sign. So I'm dreaming big, but I'm also fingers crossed that so are the players.
Yeah. So we'll put Paul Skeens in 1. So that's given to us. It's sort of like your empty bingo square in the middle. So Paul Skeens is at 1. We know that. So let's go to 2, and let's talk about catcher. So who do you guys have at catcher? Drew, start with you.
Yeah, it's going to be the best catcher in baseball right now. That's big dumper Cal Raleigh.
All right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had.
I think there's going to be a lot of overlap, but we'll see exactly where we differ.
Yeah, hopefully, we hope the starting 9, hopefully, will have a lot of overlap. So Cal Raleigh, why Cal Raleigh? You guys go for it. Why Cal Raleigh?
I mean, Drew, do you want to take it or do you want me to take it first?
I mean, he's the best catcher in baseball. He's a
Yeah.
power hitting, switch hitting, uh, one of the best defenders at the catching position, and of course he's American. That's that qualifies you for the roster. But and I think he'll do it. Honestly, I would be pretty surprised. He just seems like the type that would be into that type of tournament. We've seen the
Mhm.
big name catchers do it in the past. Buster Posey did it. JT Realmuto did it. So yeah, I think he's the perfect fit.
Yeah, it would
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
be live to see him. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, dude, I think it'd be awesome. And like you said, like I think that right now he's just like he's really solidifying himself as kind of that top like position at as a catcher, and he's just fun. Like the stuff that he does with the Mariners, like he's not just like the boring like go to work, bring my lunch bag and whatever. It's like he's having fun. He's doing the like have him dump somebody at the stadium stuff. Like he's just like a good personality. So I'm like best player at position right now. Plus like a lot of people will say they want to go for like the hype of like all the youngest players, all the guys that have the most like flash, and it's like, nah, sometimes you just want the guy that's like best and like is cool right now. Um, so absolutely, I think the Dumper's gonna be sweet if he takes it.
WBC uniform tailors, ready your needles. Widen the pants. He's coming. He's
Widen
coming
the
for that.
pants.
He's coming for that catcher position. All right. So we go from 2 to 3, first base, and we'll go with Matt. Who'd you pick for first base?
First base is someone who I think just like should. He's one of my favorite players ever. Um, Originally, I would have considered him sticking somewhere else, but just kind of looking through all the like USA eligible players and who's kind of projected to be in the player pool for USA. I've got Bryce Harper here. I think he's proven he can be really good defensively on top of being Bryce Harper on offense. So as long as he continues to be above average at least in defensive metrics, like there's no reason to even really look too many other places. Like it's Bryce Harper, and just the attitude that he would bring to the World Baseball Classic, the trash talking, like, mm, I love Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I chose Harper also.
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman sneaky plays for Team Canada in these tournaments, so
Yep.
he would have been like the only other option I really considered anyway. But yeah, Harper he committed to the 2023 World Baseball Classic and was injured, so he couldn't play. And I'll always think that's a huge bummer. We didn't get to see a Trout Harper team. Maybe Trout comes back. We'll see. But yeah, I think Bryce Harper is the perfect guy. Aaron Judge is the captain, but Bryce Harper might be the real leader in that clubhouse.
Yeah, heart and soul, he would be for sure if he showed up, which, like you say, I was so looking forward to seeing him suit up 3 years ago or 2 years ago now, 3 years ago next year. But yeah, 2 years ago, I was really looking forward to help seeing him suit up and so bummed. So I hope this works out this way too. Okay, so let's go to second base. Drew, who's your second baseman?
Second base was a little tricky. It's not a especially strong position in Major League Baseball, and a lot of the top guys are not American. So I went a little outside the box, although he was their second baseman for a lot of the 23 tournament, and I went with Mookie Betts simply because he can play there. It's probably at these days his best position defensively, uh, and he's just so good. Like, there's just not a second baseman that I trust on the offensive side of the ball as much as him, and his defense will be good enough. He already did it, which is, a good omen. And I could see guys like Harper and Mookie who are on the wrong side of 30 now. They could be looking at these as like, this might be the last time I get to do it. And so
Hmm.
I think Mookie Betts would commit, and I think second base will be the spot for him because of just the way the roster works out.
Yeah. I mean, not who I picked, but because I didn't even think to put him there. Mookie Betts at second base would be awesome. Like absolutely electric. I would love to see him there. I put a guy a little out of position as well because I didn't love the options that I was seeing, but he used to play second base. I had CJ Abrams.
Mm.
I think he's fun. I think that he's, shown he can kind of do a lot, actually. He's a little hit or miss on defense, but he played a lot of second base when he was on the Padres. I've seen it. It's good enough. Um, and he's an exciting player. So I thought he could have made a really cool second baseman. I absolutely would have had Mookie Betts if I even thought, I just didn't even think that that was an option.
That was the last position I had to fill. I thought about it for a long time.
Yeah, second base was tough. That one took me a minute.
Yeah, if you want to get Mookie in there, that's a good way to do it while also getting someone else in there. Like if that's a guy you want, you can put him there, and then you can also get somebody else in the outfield
Yeah.
or somebody
And I
else
mean,
in
the
the infield.
Dodgers love these like super utility man, and that would be Mookie for the Team USA roster. He's just kind of wherever you want a player, put him.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so that's second base. Let's go ahead and go to third and see who we have as our third baseman. Matt?
Matt's turn, yeah.
Yeah, Matt's turn to go first. Matt, who do you got at third?
At third, I have Gunnar Henderson. I think he's really good, and I was looking at some of the other Team USA eligible third basemen, and I kind of wasn't like overly impressed or blown away by anybody. And I just think like he's supposed to be kind of this like next up and coming generation of players. Like let him do it on a world stage. Like if he really is going to be that guy, do it, prove it. Let's see it.
Yeah, well, I didn't choose Gunner as my starting third baseman, but spoiler alert, he is on my bench as someone who could back up at third base or shortstop. So he did make my team, but for third base, I went with Alex Bregman, who is currently the Red Sox third baseman. He is Jewish, he could play for Team Israel. Uh, that's how they do that team.
Hmm.
Um, he played for Team USA back in 2017. He was like the young up and comer guy they put on the roster. He rode the bench for the most part, which they had Bobby Witt Jr. do that in 2023 before he was what he is today. So they like doing that kind of thing. But I think he so far this year he's just having an outstanding year, and I think he's the type of guy who likes these kind of tournaments and would be willing to play. And I think he'd be a good fit on this team.
Yeah, two very exciting options. As an Angel fan, we just came off of a series against the Orioles. Can confirm Gunnar Henderson, good, very good. And then yeah, Bregman's year this year, it would be very off of this year. It would be very exciting to hear that he's going to be playing, for Team USA. One thing to keep an eye out for Bregman if he, decides to opt out. That could be a deciding factor, a determining
I'm
factor in
hoping
whether
for
he
an
plays for.
extension before that, the Chapman deal.
Yes. Yes, we could get that could be double good news for Drew if he, extends with the Red Sox. He could get the extension, and then also it could mean he has a better shot of playing for Team USA. And so, all right, so that's third. Let's finish out the infield and go to short.
Yeah, so I feel like this was one of the easier ones for me. I just mentioned him as a guy who was on the roster as like a pinch runner, backup type of guy in 2023, and that's going to be Bobby Witt Jr. He had an amazing year last year. He's already looks amazing this year. He's a five-tool player, uh, and he plays a premium position at shortstop. I think it's clear he's the best shortstop in baseball right now, and he's American born. He's played on Team USA before. I think that's an easy fit, Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah, I've got Bobby Witt Jr. It's so obvious. Like if he's willing to do it, like you couldn't ask for much better. And just everything. It's everything.
Yeah, it'd be really exciting. Yeah, absolutely. You have him and Aaron Judge, who had that MVP race last year. With Bobby Witt coming out of nowhere as far as
They're
that
they're
level
one and
goes.
two this year so far too. Like
Yep. Yep. It could be
they
the same. Absolutely this year. Once we get to the end of the year, it could be exactly the same. So it would be great to see them play together. All right. So let's go to the outfield, starting left. Who's your left fielder, Matt?
Left fielder. I don't know if he actually plays left field or not, but I figure most outfielders, if they're good enough, can kind of play the outfield. And I know that the other two guys that I put play those positions. So I have Corbin Carroll in left field. I think that he's absolutely deserving of being one of the starting three outfielders for this Team USA team. Um, yeah, I absolutely love his game. I think he'd be super fun to watch. He already is fun to watch, but again, just thinking about any of these guys on kind of a global stage just amplifies the fun they already are. So I would love to see Corbin Carroll out there.
Yeah, I have the same guy. I have Corbin Carroll. Um, and everything you've said, I mean, like I'm looking at my team right now, like Corbin Carroll could be like the nine hitter on this team. Like it's possible. And
Yeah,
that, I mean, that
yeah,
says a lot about the lineup as a whole. But yeah, just the speed power combo. He can go and get it. I think left field's a good fit for him with guys better positioned to play right field on this roster. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's very fast. But yeah, I think Corbin Carroll on left would be pretty cool.
yeah.
Right on. Okay, let's move to center and go with Drew.
Yeah, center field, this was like, I was kind of surprised by my answer, but like looking into it further, and I think it makes perfect sense. He's had a great year so far, kind of, he was a top prospect and all that, but Pete Crow Armstrong of the Chicago Cubs as my center fielder, um, maybe the fastest guy in baseball. He can really go get it in center field, and he's just having a great year with the bat too. That was the worry. Like they knew he could run, they knew he could field. Can he hit major league pitching? And so far this year he can. I just think there are there are a lot of good center fielders out there, but in terms of excitement level on the team, I think Pete Crow Armstrong would be my pick.
Yeah, dude, he turned down that contract for himself and turned into like legit top, power hitter in the league. That was crazy. It's a little bit of a bias, but also not a lot of bias because I do think he is one of the top center fielders, just period. I'm going Jackson Merrill. Um, I mean, the kid's incredible. So there's not much else to be said. And he is like the classic baseball loves baseball guy. Um, and he would just be about it. I just know like the competition, he would just be about it. So I would love to see him on the team, obviously. But Pete Crow Armstrong's also legit. I think he's super fun.
Yeah, I could see either one. I could see both of them making the roster
Yep.
very easily. Merrill did not make my starting team. He did. He also did not make my bench, which our bench is smaller than what the actual bench will be.
By a
So,
couple, yeah.
if I had a couple more spots, he would have made it. But I tried to finagle the positions a little bit. But yeah, he's absolutely a candidate that I would be very excited to see on the team.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So a little bit of difference in the center field, and let's check out right field. Who we got in right field?
For right field, I have Kyle Tucker. I just think that he's awesome. He's, again, just an all-around superstar. Could be an MVP candidate. Like, there's just not a lot of holes in his game, so I think that he makes a lot of sense to just slot right in.
I chose Kyle Tucker as well. Um,
I
Yeah.
would.
and for everything Matt just said, the one thing would be, if for whatever reason he has a long drawn out free agency, maybe he wouldn't want that, but I don't expect that to
But we're talking
happen.
about our dream roster.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have Kyle Tucker there too. And honestly, like, yeah, I'm dreaming big, but like last time we got basically the dream position players.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked at all if we got a lot of these guys that we're naming to be on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think we need to do DH because I think we figured that out by going 1 through 9, right?
Yeah.
Our DH is Aaron Judge, the captain of the team and the first guy to commit, and so that'll be great. Wonderful. So let's go to the starting rotation now. We're going to build a starting rotation of 5. Paul Skeens is in there. So let's go with 4 more. And so how I want to do this. let's just for starting pitchers, we can go one by one. So Drew, give us your start or your one of your starting pitchers now.
Just one.
Yeah, give us all four.
Okay. My four guys. This is where it's like imagine. I can't even imagine. If it ends up being this, I'll be over the moon. So Paul Skeens, we know. I have Tariq Skubal on that list. I have Garrett Crochet on that list. I have Zach Wheeler, and I have Logan Webb. That is, it'll be two lefties, three righties. You don't even need probably five starting pitchers in this tournament, but they can piggyback off each other. It would be strikeouts galore. We'd love to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that'd be a very fun rotation.
All right, Matt, give us your
Uh,
four.
yeah, so I also had Tariq Skubal in my rotation. I think it's just on top of being like arguably the best pitcher right now, he's also a lefty, which is valuable to have. Kind of, throw that into the mix. I went with like a mix of I think it would be fun and they'd be good, and then the last couple guys. This is all prefacing because you're gonna hear the names and be like, I guess, sure. Um, so I took Logan Gilbert. I think he's
Hmm.
awesome as well. If he's healthy, I think he's absolutely just a stud. But my last two, because kind of like you're saying, I imagine they didn't need five starting pitchers like a traditional rotation. So I thought like maybe consider these guys like both of them get 2 innings each before we go to bullpen. I think it'd be really fun to see Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, like just like let them sail off on their little golden ship into the rainbow sky. Like just give them a last chance. Like this is we're ending we're nearing the end of both of them, and
Hmm.
I think it'd be fun to kind of see them get a chance on the stage.
I love that. They had Adam Wainwright out there at like 40 years old in 23. He did not
There we
Sure
go.
did.
he did not do great. But yeah, that'd be cool. And Logan Gilbert, I mean, if I picked a sixth guy, he would probably be it. So, um, yeah, choices.
No.
The third time's the charm, putting Verlander and Scherzer on the same team, right?
It
Uh,
has to work this time.
this one will get it. So yeah, this one will be the one that wins the title. I think in that case. All right. So now we move to our bullpen, our relievers. I have two spots here for relievers. So Matt, hit us with your two relief pitchers.
Yeah, my two relief pitchers, I just took the biggest gas I could find from the right and left sides. I've got Josh Hader and Mason Miller. Um, I think they're both they're great relief pitchers. Not much else to be said about it. They'll give up some nukes, but at the same time, they're going to be fun when they do it. So I like the fire they bring.
Yeah, I love that idea for a tournament like this. Just hardest fastballs possible. I had Josh Hader and Mason Miller written down, and I swapped out one. I kept Mason Miller, and I went full gas. And given recent news, I doubt this will happen, but I went with Ben Joyce, who
Let's
I
Oh,
believe
go.
threw an 100-mile-an-hour fastball last year.
Yeah,
yeah,
So you get
he
Ben
did.
Joyce in the eighth and Mason Miller in the ninth, and good luck.
dude, I love that.
Yeah, Ben Joyce will come up a little later as well. Yeah, but yeah, look, that'd be pretty awesome. You think back to the 2023 World Baseball Classic, and Japan had flamethrowers at the end of their end of their starting
Yep.
lineup, and then also in their bullpen, and it really frustrated me as a person who was watching Japan just take game after game after game, not like wanting the USA to win, so not wanting them to face Japan in the championship, and so I'm like, yeah, they're just gonna cruise because these guys just throw crazy
That
hard.
that semifinal game that was Japan and Mexico, it was
Yeah.
one of the greatest games I've ever seen. I I'm already excited about this tournament. We can get through the 25 regular season.
Yeah, fast forward, fast forward. We want to get there. All right. So there's the relievers. So now we go to our benches. And so let's go with five bench players. These are position players that we have on the bench. And so let's start with Drew here. Name your five bench players.
Yeah, so I tried to think more like less the five best players not on the team and more about kind of how a roster would fill out. So I chose a backup catcher. I chose Adley Rutschman. I know he has not been amazing lately, but I kind of still feel like he has the vibes of a guy they would want on the team. The way they do these tournaments, the catchers switch every game, and so
Hmm.
both of them are switch hitters. Both of them are good defenders. Um, they're both young. I like Adley being on that roster, even if he hasn't been the greatest hitter lately. As I already said, I had Gunnar Henderson, thinking he could fill in at short or third or DH or whatever. Um, I chose Brendan Donovan because he can play like every position and he's a
Yep.
really solid player. Um, I chose Pete Alonso as the backup first baseman. He played, I believe, in 23 as well, and
Hmm.
he is, you need a vibes guy on the bench. He is that vibes guy.
Sure do.
And then my last one is the one where I went outside the box because as I brought up earlier, 2017 had Alex Bregman on the roster before he was a really proven major league player. 23, they had Bobby Witt Jr. in a similar role. I'm putting Roman Anthony on this line
I
on this
knew it. I
roster.
knew it. I knew it. I
I
knew it.
I want to see him. I want to see him with the big guys. Like a lineup with Judge and Carroll and Kyle Tucker and Mookie Betts and Bryce Harper, and then you get a Roman Anthony at bat, and he's 21 years old, and
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool to see. So that's wishful thinking on my part, because I'm sure a lot of guys would have to say no before they got to him. But I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be super fun. Like, it'd be cool to see a guy like that up there. Um, I'll start. I also kind of went the same route you did. I took a lot of the players that I thought were like cool, but also made sense kind of roster wise and could fill in for spots. I deleted my utility man as soon as you mentioned Mookie Betts because he's perfect. And again, he would have been in my starting lineup and CJ Abrams become the utility guy,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna have to say Mookie as the utility guy. Um, for my backup outfield, I also have James Woods, or
Mhm.
James Wood. I think he's super fun. I love the idea of him and Jackson Merrill getting to play next to each other again. I think that would just make for a cool storyline. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, they're like childhood teammates and childhood great friends, drafted both by the Padres. So it'd be cool to see them again. I also have Pete Alonso on this bench. I think he's just an absolute rock star of a hitter. He can play first. There's value there. I had Adley Rutschman. I'm going to change it up because I was between Adley and another guy. Um, I'm going to go with Will Smith.
Mhm.
Um, I think Will Smith could make a lot of sense. And kind of for the same arguments we had for a few of these guys, like he isn't getting younger, and I don't know how many more opportunities at this he'd want to take. And he's talked about he wants to kind of solidify himself as having a Hall of Fame case, and not that this adds to it, but this cannot take away from it. Um, and so I think he'd make a good backup catcher. And then my last guy, who's my vibes guy, pretty much would just ride the bench and do social media, would be Brent Rooker. I think he'd be super fun to have on this team. I don't imagine he would get in anywhere because really all he would do is spot Aaron Judge if he wanted to take a game off as DH. But like, hey, that's fine. He's just going to be funny in the locker room and in the dugout. So I like it.
Along the lines of Brent Rooker, I just want to say like I didn't put this guy on my team because it didn't really fit the roster I was building, but I would be very, very surprised if Kyle Schwarber is not on this team. He was on the
Mm.
team before.
Yep.
He just freaking mashes. You don't have to really worry about him getting hurt because he does one thing and he does it super well. and he's a vibes guy. I really would be shocked if he's not back on this team, but I just didn't want to put him because it's like it just was a messy fit the way I had constructed it. But you can book it. I bet Kyle Schwarber will be on this team.
Yeah. It'd be kind of strange to have in a roster spot someone who would fill in for DH or something like that because
Hmm.
Judge seems like the Trout type that's like, I'm the captain, I'm not taking any games off, kind of an idea. And
Yeah,
so if you want to fill the roster with players that you want to use at some point. But yes, I believe that Kyle Schwarber should be on the team again. He had a lot of fun, and we had a lot of fun watching him last time. So it's going to be great. Well, look, the tournament's going to be awesome. This is one of the best things that baseball does every few years. The other teams, when all the teams get finalized, we'll obviously talk about all of it. But the other teams are going to be so good. You think about guys who are not American. This is like what their favorite thing to do outside of playing a World Series is play in the WBC
Some say
because
it's
they love.
some say it's even better. Like
And some say it's better, like to win the WBC than win a World Series because they're representing their home country and things like that. So they love to do it. So we're going to have a lot of really good teams. And look, in 2023, Dominican got bounced a little too early, and I
they're
think
gonna be good, dude.
Dominican they're going to be good,
every
and
year,
I
you
hope
would
they
think,
make it far.
yeah,
I hope they make it far. But
Pujols at
um,
the helm.
yes, and Pool's managing. Oh yeah, we're gonna have
Yeah,
some fun. All
yeah.
right, good. So that's our dream roster, or like uh, 12 13ths of roster.
And I'm sorry if
Um,
any of these guys are Canadian or something. I don't know. I don't know.
I think we did a good. I think those
I
are
think
Yeah.
all
you did good.
Americans.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think by nation of birth, I think we did good. You watch out for the Ian Kinslers and the things like that where they could sneak over to another team. All right, but yeah, so that's WBC roster. We wanted to take a second to build that before too many players committed. But let's go ahead and move into one of our favorite segments, which is Fan Corner, and let's talk about our teams for a little while. We'll start with the Padres and Matt. So what's going on in Padres fandom?
Yeah, Padres fandom. I mean, we're still feeling good. Like it feels repetitive to say, but as you know, we go through these series and we go through these games, and it's like we'll have a couple heartbreaking losses. We saw our first bullpen like implosions between Suarez and the 10-run inning against the Yankees. Um, so we've seen a couple downs, but at the same time, we're just right there at the top of the division, at the top of the league. We're still waiting on getting some of our players back. Jackson Merrill's awesome. Like I can't be mad. Like we are in a good spot, and there are other good teams that wish they had our record. Um, so nothing to complain about here. My big thing would be, Jason Hayward. I like the guy. He seems like a cool locker room dugout guy. Um, we need to upgrade our left field. Um, it's pretty much between him and like Brandon Lockridge right now, which has been fine. They both hit out of our 8 hole, but I don't know. Like that's the only real like if I'm getting nitpicky, it's like better catcher maybe left field, but that's being nitpicky. Like we still aren't like league worst at either of those, and the rest of our lineup is pretty sweet. So yeah, all good things down in San Diego, my friend.
First case, I believe, this season of pod on pod violence this week. Padres and Angels played each other. In a series the Padres won. Angels snuck one win in there in the series opener. And by sneak, I mean really snuck. It took a little bit to win that one. But it took everything they had, and then they didn't have anything left for the last two games. But yeah, that was fun. Did you watch any of those games?
Oh, I watched everyone.
Okay, I didn't. So I didn't watch. I
I'll tell
what
you
was
what,
it?
you have some
Yeah,
young players who could really actually, they look good. It's,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I was just talking to a friend of mine who's an Angels fan, and I was telling him that series did not feel like the Padres beat the Angels. It felt like the Angels kind of beat themselves. because there were many moments where I was like, we shouldn't have gotten away with what we got away with. Like a baseball dropping between two defenders in the outfield when someone just needed to call it. Errors on just throwing to first base or even just holding onto the ball. Like so many like little things where it's like it would have killed our rallies. And I honestly think that you guys were the better team. We just didn't make as many small mistakes. We made all of ours all at once. So, I mean, seeing him in person, it's not as bad as it all looks, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. It looks bad, but yeah. Worthy mentioning. Tatis hit his first walk-off home run ever, which feels impossible. That feels like something that's happened a million times, and in fact, so much
And it
so
was
that
awesome.
I was watching a movie that night, and then the movie ended, and the game was still going on, and so I was like, "Oh, should I tune in to the end of the game? It's tied right now." And so I opened the app and checked the game day, on the MLB app, and I was like, it's tied, and Tatis is up with somebody on. I maybe I don't turn it on. Maybe I know how this goes. So much so it seems impossible. That was his first one. So much so that I thought, like I felt in my gut that it was going to happen. And it did. So I'm glad I didn't turn it on because that would have killed the vibe. But yeah, so Angels and Padres played each other for the first time this year, so that was fun. But all right, so you were mentioning ball drops between two outfielders. Something else happened between two outfielders this week, and so we'll move to the Red Sox now, and we'll talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, the Red Sox are extremely frustrating right now because they do cool things. There are cool moments in almost every game,
Yep.
and they still just keep losing. So they won a series against the Royals this weekend. The Royals were super hot coming into that, and so I felt kind of good. I like Garrett Crochet outdueled Cole Reagans, and then Lucas Giolito outdueled Seth Lugo, which was a real pleasant surprise. And then we go to Detroit, and Tanner Houck has the second worst start in Red Sox history, only behind his start earlier in the year against the Rays. Um, he's now on the IL. Is he hurt? Does he just need some time? I don't know. And then yeah, we ended up getting swept with two walk-offs. So two winnable games. We've lost something like seven straight one-run games. We are like 4-12 in one-run games this year, which is, kind of the sign of you're not that good of a team. And so that's really frustrating when the expectations were so high. There was the Devers drama last week we talked about a little bit. It kind of heated up, and then he just has been hitting so well that it's kind of died down. It's not really the story it once was. Um, but yeah, I mean, on that note, I think things need to change. I think something needs to happen to fix the vibes. And yes, I would love a Marcelo Meyer and a Roman Anthony call up. Um, but in order to facilitate that, I actually had a trade idea, and I want to propose it to Matt because it's a trade with the Padres.
And you're trying to give me Rafael Devers, aren't you?
I am not. Uh, but but it's actually really interesting because you just mentioned if you were getting nitpicky, you would like a better left fielder. And
Eh,
I have one Jaron Duran up for bid. Um, what would you say? Obviously, I don't think this is going to happen, but it's just like an interesting enough thought that I'm like, this could make some sense. Jaron Duran, and then one of our top prospects who's kind of a little far away from the majors, Miguel Blaze. So Duran has 4 years left, including this year. So 3 more years after this. Um, and we get the rest of the season of Luis Ariz because we have a hole at first base now.
hmm.
You swap leadoff hitters. Uh, the Padres have defensive flexibility with guys. And
Luis
then,
Arraez is our two hitter.
well, he'll lead off in Boston.
Yeah, yeah.
um, Jaron Duran can bat wherever you want him to. And then also, like, this might be a reach if I ask for Robert Suarez. That's who I'd really like. But maybe like a Jason Adam or something, because the Padres bullpen has been so good. Red Sox really could use one more solid arm. I think the Padres wouldn't be missing a ton. They have a lot of their highest prospects in AAA are pitchers, so maybe they could come in and fill some bullpen role in that. Padres fill a hole, Red Sox fill a hole or two. At the same time, it frees up left field for Roman Anthony to come up. I just think it makes sense. There was trade talk surrounding Arise in the offseason. There was trade talk surrounding some of your relievers in the offseason. Um, the reason I don't think it happens is because the Padres are doing very well, and why would they feel like shaking things up? But this is something that I thought of, and I'd like to see what you would think about that.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is I've actually seen reports from, at least people in the Padres Twitter universe that are not reliable. Like people who have been correct about things before and talking about a trade with the Red Sox. The difference being there's reports that AJ Preller is really, really, really interested in Rafael Devers, which I think is very interesting. Um,
I need to cut you off right there because
Sure you
I've
do.
seen this I've seen this from a lot of non-Red Sox fans that, oh, Devers is unhappy, they're going to trade him. They will fire three Craig Breslows before they trade Rafael Devers. It's just not going
which
to
is
happen.
which is super fair. I'm just saying, like, AJ Preller doesn't give a shit what you say. AJ Preller's a madman, and we've seen him pull some crazy triggers before, and he's willing to wheel and deal with top prospects. I mean, we have, I believe, DeVries just jumped into the top 5 for MLB prospects. Like, and not that you guys need prospects. That's kind of your whole problem is you have a little too many prospects. But it's just an interesting scenario where it's like, I don't know. As far as your trade proposal, I like it. I love Luis Ariz though. The bullpen stuff, I think I would be willing to give up an arm. I mean, we've got like 4 or 5 guys that could be eighth inning guys. Um, if we gave up Suarez, that'd be really interesting. I do think Adam could close. I don't know if he'd quite be Suarez, but an interesting trade for sure because you can absolutely just have, Sheets play first base, or you can have Cronenworth go back to first and bring in someone else with second, like a Tyler Wade. Um, it would definitely be an interesting lineup for sure, and our outfield would be insane. Like our outfield would be absolutely nuts. So it'd be interesting. It's an interesting proposal there.
I think I would be surprised to see it happen, but at the same time, Preller is the guy who, like you were saying, like he traded for a rise at this time last year. He's not afraid of the early season trade. Uh,
Same with Dylan Cease. He traded for him
yeah, right
like super early.
before the season started, right? Yeah, so he's willing to do it. I'm just curious, what the Red Sox feel. I think they see Jarren Duran as a clubhouse leader. Um, to me, he's the guy I'm most willing to part with because I think we've seen the ceiling of Jarren Duran. Um, I don't know if he's going to get better than what he was last year. And simply put, we have too many guys, and someone's got to go.
Yeah.
And so there's been talk of Willie Abreu. Well, he's been one of our best hitters, so that would be hard to see him go. There's been talk of Ceddanne Rafaela. He's actually been playing a lot better lately, and he has a nice long team friendly contract, so I don't really see that happening. And they're definitely not going to trade Roman Anthony, um, nor should they. So something's got to
Well,
give. I know
hear
they,
me out. Hear me out.
yeah.
What would you give me, Padres, in return for Xander Bogaerts?
Uh, I would give you, you could have like a single A backup shortstop, uh, unless you were paying the whole contract, in which case maybe a starting single A shortstop.
All
Shortstop's
right.
not a place of need for us.
Yeah, you have too many.
That's where
Like
they
6 of
start,
them on
and
there.
then they'll end up somewhere else.
They'll become our future pitching.
Mhm.
Exactly. All right. So yeah, I'll hit the Angels real quick. Still bad. Uh, not looking good. Not looking like it's going to get better. They got Dodgers coming up over the weekend. So that's going to be bad. Um, Ben Joyce. The big news of the week is that Ben Joyce is out for the year. He had shoulder surgery. Look, when you throw that hard, your arm's going to blow up a lot, and so this is the time where his arm is blown up, and so that'll be how it happens. We'll try again next year. Maybe like the guy who's pitched the fewest innings who got a bobblehead giveaway ever. We'll have to check on that. But he had a bobblehead giveaway this year already, and he has not pitched very much this year. And so maybe we'll have to double check on that stat. But yeah, that's it for Angel Land. Really, Mr. Beast was at a game last week, so they pull down the stars, I guess. So all right, we can move on to Locked In, our predictions for the next week of play. We'll start with Drew here. Last week's prediction was that the Pirates firing Derek Shelton will have no impact. So you can talk about that a little bit and then say your prediction for this week.
Yeah, so the Pirates are still in last place. So
Yes.
It didn't really help. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. I don't feel great about the Pirates, so that was kind of a slam dunk, easy one to do. But my prediction for this week, as you kind of referenced, this coming weekend, MLB has billed as rivalry weekend for the first time. They're trying to do it, I guess, like market it special. What's kind of funny about it is that it's geographical based, not necessarily rivalry
True
based.
rival.
So like for example, the biggest rivalry in baseball is Yankees Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
They do not play each other this weekend. The Mets play the Yankees because they're both in New York, and so that is a rivalry. But it's just it's kind of fun. I don't know. But a lot of them are interleague matchups. So my prediction is that the National League is going to just dominate these matchups. So I think the Mets are going to, outduel the Yankees. I think the Cubs, obviously, against the White Sox, I would expect big things from the Cubs. Giants playing the A's. I know the A's have been pretty solid, but I expect the Giants to win that series. Orioles have been so bad, and they're playing the Nationals. I think the Nationals can win that series. Padres Mariners. I know the Mariners we've talked about in recent episodes as being really good. They've kind of had a down week, and we've talked about how good the Padres are. So, I think the Padres could have a good series there. Angels Dodgers. Do I even need to say it? Sorry, Dallas. So I just think it's going to be a good week for the National League. Brewers Twins. I think the Brewers can beat the Twins. I saw that Correa and Buxton collided today and both left the game. So that's, exactly what it's like
Oh my God.
the most Twins headline you can imagine.
Oh, brother.
And the Red Sox play the Braves, and that one's, it's like, what? How is that a rivalry? Well, the Braves used to be in Boston long, long time ago, so I guess that's where they're basing that off of. And I think it's the first time in history I saw on Twitter, because the Red Sox played against the Tigers, and Tariq Skubal started the game on Wednesday. They had an off day today, and then tomorrow, Friday, Chris Sale starts. So facing both reigning Cy Young winners in back-to-back games, I don't think it's ever happened. The Red Sox did score 5 runs on Skubal and lost.
Sure did.
But yeah, I think I'm interested to see these matchups. I think it is a fun kind of thing they're doing. I would have preferred it if it was the true rivalries, like if the Padres were playing the Dodgers, if the Red Sox were playing the Yankees, maybe like Mets Phillies or Braves Phillies.
Angels Mariners.
Yeah, Mariners and I don't know, Rockies are the closest team. No.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it should be kind of fun. But I expect the National League to be the better league overall this weekend. So I'll have to do some tallying for next week.
Yeah.
on a whole, but that's my prediction.
All right. All right. So now we'll talk to Matt about his prediction for this week. Just as a reminder, last week your prediction was that there will be a notable trade this week. So talk about that a little bit and then say your prediction for this week.
Yeah. So last week I made the prediction that there was going to be a trade. I nailed it. The Padres traded Connor Joe for a minor league pitcher from the Reds. Big news in San Diego County. That obviously shook some roots there. So unfortunately, no, that's not. I mean, the trade did happen, but I said it would be notable. I truly am going to be stubborn on this. My exact words were, I predict this week there's going to be a big, juicy, notable trade, and I don't care what sport it's in. I'm leaving the MLB.
Got it.
I'm leaving the bounds of MLB. I don't care what sport it is. Somebody's going to be traded somewhere. I'll take an NIL deal. I'll take, a transfer portal guy. I just need someone to switch teams with someone in a notable fashion, and I'll be happy.
If you
All right.
go back in time and say that was your prediction all along, I think you would have made it in time for the George Pickens trade. So
Yeah, which is
That's
kind of
true.
what woke me up to this whole thing is I was like, I've really been missing out by focusing purely on the MLB portion of this dual sport pod. Is I left out my specialty. I was right the whole time. There was a trade coming. I just didn't realize it was, on my turf.
Yeah. Okay, so there it is. Our predictions for the next week locked in there. Okay, and then last thing we'll hit in our MLB segment before we go quickly to the NFL and talk about schedule is the Homer draft standings. So, you're waiting for the update. Here it is. Drew, what's the update on the Homer draft here?
well,
He's catching me.
I believe last week Matt was at 1 home run, and now
Yes.
he's at 2 home runs total. So
Well,
big week for Matt. But I went from -7 home runs to -5 home runs. So I made up 1 home run on Matt this week. Big news for me. Just some little updates on that. Tyler Soderstrom is playing almost exclusively left field now, so he's not hitting home runs really. I think he had one this
right,
week, but
right.
and then Aaron Judge hit a lot of home runs this week, and 3 of them did not count for Matt because he
Mm,
was starting at DH those days. Um,
brutal.
I am being really dragged down by the pitching. We've talked about this, but my thoughts are the Rays are right at the top. They're in like the top three, I think, of the league in giving up home runs right now, and that's really a bummer for me. But I remembered that the Rays' schedule is all lopsided, and they have a lot of home games early in the year because of the weather down in Tampa, and it's a home run friendly environment. So I'm hoping that as the season goes, that kind of plateaus a little bit and the Rays are more with the rest of the pack, and maybe that'll help me hop up on my home runs a little bit. But I will say we did a good job in picking our teams because 4 of the top 6 guys right now in home runs in baseball are rostered by us. Um, so shout out the Diamondbacks because the other 2 guys are Corbin Carroll and Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah.
Neither is on our teams because I chose Ketel Marte, who did have a good week. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, good for us picking the home run hitters. And next week I'm gonna keep coming. I'm gonna keep catching little by little.
We're working our way back up. And look, it'll help you that Mike Trout is still not running. So not looking good to come back anytime soon. So as long as 2 of Matt's players are now ineligible to count toward the total,
I'm
you
down
know,
so damn bad.
uh, you
Hey, you're
might catch
still
some
up.
ground.
You're still up.
But still up as of now. Okay. So let's go to the NFL. Big news this week. The schedule release happened yesterday. The official schedule is out. We know the dates, we know the times, we know who and what is going down in NFL town. ESPN had a special that was for some reason 2 hours long. I tuned in to probably what I thought was to be the whole thing, but ended up being the first quarter of it, in which they were supposed to go division by division, and I only made it through like two divisions. So I was disappointed by that because I thought I might hear them talk about the team that I'm interested in. But anyway, but it's a big deal. Every team does their own little video. We'll talk more about a certain team's video later. I see on our rundown here, so we won't spend too much time on that. But it's a big deal. We love it. We know the matchups because every team has their home and away opponents decided very quickly after the season ends because it's based on where you finish in your division. But it's something about when the dates come in and what time and who's in prime time that makes it all the more exciting. So even though we've known about who's playing who, I wanted to lead with this question. We've known about who's playing who for a while, so we could have talked about this anytime, but it seems like a relevant time to talk about it. Let's talk about tantalizing revenge games. We got a few on the schedule here. Who are you guys looking forward to? What games do you have circled as far as revenge games are concerned as for the next NFL season?
I mean, right off the bat, I think if I'm just thinking Rams right now, it's got to be Lions and Eagles. Like we played really well in division last year. We dropped one pretty nasty game to the Cardinals, but we've also kind of whooped on the Cardinals for the last like half decade or so. So, they're bound to get one here or there. But the Eagles really kind of embarrassed us, the way that they played, and they just ran the ball down our throat. We made it close at the end, but the game never felt close. It was one of those close games that never felt close. And I'd love, love, love to get back at them. And then the Lions. The Lions have like weirdly become our unofficial rival ever since the Stafford and Goff trade. Lions fans just hate us. Like so aggressively hate Rams fans. And it's one of the more interesting things because they will sit there and talk their shit on Stafford. They'll praise Goff. They'll go after the Rams fans. And it's just like, that's one of the few trades I think we can genuinely say was like good for both teams. And I don't know why they can't just be happy with that. So we haven't beaten them since we got Stafford. We've done better than them, but we have not beaten them. And I would love, we've got them early on the roster, on the season too. So I would love to get back at those guys.
Matt, I just need to say you need to shut out the haters. You know, forget the trolls, all that.
I can't.
Um,
I'm affected by everything that comes across my screen.
revenge games that I have circled. I don't have any Broncos revenge games on here.
Mhm.
But week one Sunday Night Football is Ravens Bills. Ravens had a 2-point conversion attempt to tie the game in the whatever round of the playoffs that was, and obviously Mark Andrews dropped that ball, big deal. I like that matchup. It's going to be fun to watch, but that's a revenge game. Um, Lions Chiefs week six Sunday Night Football. I don't know if that's technically revenge. I mean, the Chiefs lost to the Lions a couple years ago in like week one. But they haven't played in the playoffs or anything. But I just think that that's two uh, titans of the league right now, and I guess I shouldn't use that term because there is a Titans. But and then the last one I have, I chose all from primetime because I like the primetime games. Eagles
We love, we
Packers
love.
week 10 Monday Night Football. Uh, they played week one last year. Eagles won, and then they played again in the playoffs last year, and the Eagles won that. So the Packers have a little chip on their shoulder maybe about that, and we'll see what they can do about it. But those are the three that stood out to me as interesting games where I don't really have a strong rooting interest, but I'm interested to see what will happen.
Yeah, sweet. I like looking at players when I think about revenge games too. So honorable mentions here for Sam Darnold's going to be playing the Vikings this year. We've got Cooper Kupp will obviously be playing the Rams twice. Um, These are all Seahawk ones as I think about it, but Clint Kubiak's
Sure,
playing
sure.
the Saints this year. So, Saints and Clint Kubiak, they're playing each other this year, so that'll be fun. And then, Justin Fields is going to play the Steelers, I believe in week one. And that could be potential for a double revenge game if the Steelers man up and sign Aaron Rodgers. So, the double revenge game in play here for that. I don't know if the Cowboys play the Steelers. George Pickens has a shot at that. It seems like a game that happens a lot, but it obviously doesn't because they don't play in the same conference. But I'm not sure if they play each other or not. But that would be a good one to watch if it does exist. In my head, it does, but I don't know if it's true. But anyway, so those are the ones I highlighted because I like thinking about players too and different coaches revenging against each other. I'll tell you what will happen is that J.J. McCarthy will play against the Chargers, who are coached by Jim Harbaugh. So that's not necessarily a revenge game, but two old buddies going against each other. So that'll be fun. But yeah, so those are some games I have circled just for the narrative standpoint. Those are going to be fun to watch. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the international games. Those are always a big deal. We've seen them increase in number a lot over the last couple of years, going to a lot of different countries this year as well, going to more places. So I wanted to ask in general, looking at the games that we have, international games, do you guys think we're sending a good product overseas? Are people getting what we want them to get? A good NFL game, more or less, when they watch over in England or in Ireland or Brazil, wherever you want to put it.
I think
Um,
not.
yeah, my thought was also, I think for the most part, no. Every once in a while, there will be a fun or cool team or a good team that goes overseas. Rarely is it two good teams. And like last year, I think, what was it? Eagles Chiefs was the Brazil game to kick off the
Eagles,
season.
Packers.
Packers.
Packers. So, I mean, two really cool teams, like two good teams, or were supposed to be, and they come out and perform one of the worst games. I don't know if you guys watched that like opening game. It was one of the sloppiest, dirtiest, and nastiest games. There was like 300 penalties by the like first half.
Yes.
Just one of those like situations where it's like even when we send good teams, they never seem to be good games. So yeah, we'll see. The Rams play this year. We play
Yes,
the
they do.
Jaguars, so that'll be super cool.
Yeah,
Um,
Broncos are going too. They're playing the Jets in London.
Yes, they are.
yeah, they didn't even give us. Did you guys get your bye week after it though?
It's much after.
Oh, so because usually they give people their bye weeks right after an international game, unless obviously it was like the week one Brazil stuff. But even then, that was like pretty before, and we don't get ours for quite a few weeks after.
Yeah, same. I think yeah, I mean that opening week one Brazil game is supposed to be a better game. And looking at the schedule, that was the only international game that I thought that for this coming season looks like a pretty intriguing matchup right now, because that's going to be Chiefs versus Chargers there this year in
Yeah.
week one. That could be interesting. Division rivals. They both made the playoffs. We'll see. But yeah, the other games, it's like the Vikings go twice, back to back. So I'm guessing that they'll be in Dublin week four and then London week five. I'm guessing they just stay out there. That would be crazy if they didn't. Um, yeah, like we said, Broncos and Jets play and Rams and Jaguars play, but like we're not seeing the big games, and I'm sure that's on purpose. They want those to be home games for someone with a packed crowd and all that. Um, I personally like the Brazil one was fine because it was like a Friday or something, and it was at in the evening when we were watching it. But
Mhm.
those ones in Europe, they they start on the West Coast at like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I typically they annoy me because I wake up and realize I didn't set a lineup thing in my fantasy team for that game, and that
Yeah.
game's already in the third
You
quarter,
also
and
wake up and realize you're watching Jets versus Jaguars, and you're like, "What the hell am I doing?"
yeah, so they seem very popular. Like they always have video of, the people in Europe going to these games, and that's cool, and it's growing the game in that way. I think that's great, but I would like to see better matchups. It seems like still kind of just, well, who can we toss out there this week? But it's more than ever. It has to be, right? There's a ton of these
Yes.
games this year.
There's
Yeah.
an Ireland game this year that wasn't there last year for sure, at least that one.
There's a Spain,
Yeah,
a Germany, three
I think
Londons.
Ireland's going to be awesome.
Spain as well was not there last year. And Ireland is going to be a cool place to see football. I don't know. It'll be good. But I think, the general rule, I have always thought the general rule for these international games, now that we have more of them, before it used to be just send the Jaguars over there and then whoever wants to go with them. That's when we had one. It used to be Jaguars get it. But now that we have more, it seems I've always thought the rule was like you send teams that are good enough where people want to pay to see them, but not good enough to where you feel like you're punishing a team for being good, Because look,
Yeah.
it's a lot of travel, it's a lot of strain on the body, it's a time difference, and so you don't want to punish good teams for being good. And so that's always what I thought the rule was. But Chiefs are going this year. Granted, it's week 1, so they have plenty of time, to adjust, to the schedule preseason. I'm sure they'll be getting there like a week early or whatever, to get there, so to get adjusted and everything. But yeah, so I've always thought that was the rule and seems pretty consistent with that. The Seahawks played one in Germany a few years ago, but I think they realized that the Seahawks already travel the furthest of any team every year anyway, just because of where they're geographically located. And so to send the Seahawks overseas too is like, well, now they're going to travel, 5,000 miles longer than anyone else, plus whatever they already traveled among everybody else. So I don't know if we'll see too many more Seahawks international games. I thought they would be a good team to send over because they fall into that category right now. Good enough that people would pay to see them. Not too good though. But that thought came in my head, which is like, oh, they already travel more than anybody anyway, so probably not going to see that happen very often. Okay, so that's the international games. Let's talk about primetime, and then we'll do a quick little gut reaction to the opening game. Let's finish it out. So primetime, there were 3 teams that were shut out of primetime this year: Browns, Saints, Titans. Surprised by any of these?
1,000%. The fact that they did not give the number 1 overall pick, even like a gross Thursday night game, is insane to me. Like, that's the number 1 pick. You got to give him a little respect. I don't care if the Titans are bad. Like, it just feels like poor marketing on the NFL. Like, he's a number 1 pick. You should want to market him, and you didn't even give him a chance, let alone, like it could have been a bad game. That's the thing. Like, I'm just shocked that I really do feel like they. It just feels such a missed opportunity. I don't know. The other 2, like, thank God we don't have to see them in primetime. But we should have seen Cam Ward at least once. At least. Make it, the week 14 game against like the Texans or something. If a team America would want to see playing, and call it good. Like, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that none of them had even a Thursday, because I thought that was like when Thursday night football was introduced as like an every week thing, that was the whole point, was every team can have a primetime game. Because before Thursday night football existed, it was, you had 2 opportunities a week, and they always wanted the bigger teams to do that, and that makes sense. The players don't like Thursday nights, so it's not even like a huge benefit to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm surprised to see that I mean, it hasn't even been that long that we've been doing these Thursday night games, and we're already abandoning the whole premise behind it. I found that weird as well. And like, I mean, number 1 pick, but the Browns, like, I don't think they're going to be very good, but they're going to be a team people talk about this year, for better or worse. So yeah, it's interesting choice.
Yeah, so we'll see. Caveat for all of the schedule talk, by the way, is week 18, of course, has not been scheduled yet. So could be that they sneak something in there. I don't imagine that for the reason why week 18 isn't scheduled yet. I don't imagine that that will put one of these teams in, considering that it's not scheduled because they like to put competitive games in there. But just as a caveat, as of right now, no primetime games for either of these three teams.
Which
Um,
something interesting
yeah,
about Week 18 I noticed, and I think this is a good time to say it, is they're doing a Monday night doubleheader Week 18, which
Ugh.
They're
they
doing it multiple times, I believe.
right, which they used to do it like they've done it a couple times, but like they used to, I think even as recent as last year, they didn't do Monday night at
didn't
all
have one.
in the last week of the season, and the Sunday night game was always whatever game decided whatever division still needed to be decided.
Right.
And
Yep.
so we're getting an opportunity, if there's more meaningful games, like I didn't look up who everyone plays, but the Broncos play the Chargers that week. It's usually a divisional matchup in the last week of the season. So
Mhm.
that, there could be a lot at stake, and we could get three meaningful primetime games. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, 100%. That isn't. I didn't even see that. So you're surprised. That's why I reacted so big. You surprised me about that. Um,
Yep.
but okay, prime time. Next topic on prime time. Let's check in on our teams. Prime time. Our teams are teams that people like to watch. Broncos upstart. They're exciting. Rams are always good. Seahawks, for God knows what reason, they like putting them on. And so we have some primetime games. So I wanted to just check in. Give me the total of your team's primetime games, and then give me one you're looking forward to the most.
Yeah. The Rams, I believe, I'm willing to be fact checked on this. I believe we have 3 or 4 primetime games. We're kind of right in the middle. Um, I could be wrong. I know one of the disappointments is a lot of people thought the Rams were going to be on Thanksgiving for the first time in like forever with our game against the Buccaneers, and I don't believe that worked out.
No, it's
Um,
Bengals
but
Ravens is the extra Thanksgiving
Mm,
game.
yeah,
fun.
yeah. But regardless, we've got some fun games. I mean, we have a primetime game against the Niners. I think that in and of itself is just a good game, let alone it'll be a lot of intrigue. But that's pretty early in the season, and I feel like prime time early in the season isn't as exciting.
Yeah,
I
because you
think
don't
one that
know.
personally excites me, yeah, I mean it's like, oh man, prime time game, and one team is 3-1 and the other team is 2-2. Like, whoa. But like at the end of the season, we have back to back, I believe, primetime games with the Seahawks and the Falcons, which both could have pretty big ramifications for multiple reasons. So I
Ooh.
think our end of the season is stacked with good games. So I am excited about that.
Yeah, the Broncos have four um, on the schedule right now. The reason primetime games matter, if you're listening and you're like, well, who cares when they play? Um, One, the way football works, if it's not primetime, like unless you have the Sunday ticket package, which, as a football fan, a lot of people do, I don't have that. So if I want to watch a Broncos game, I better hope that they're showing it in the local market. And for the most part, they aren't, you know? So it's really hard to watch my favorite team play, but if they're on primetime, I guarantee can watch it. And it gets more eyes on it in general, more people
Yep.
seeing what the Broncos are about, whatever. So they've got week 4, Monday Night Football versus the Bengals. Week 10, Thursday night versus the Raiders. I feel like they play the Raiders on a Thursday every year. Um,
Used to be the big sloppy game.
Sunday Night Football, week 13 at the Commanders. And then Christmas Day is Thursday Night Football, playing the Chiefs in Kansas
Yeah,
City.
fun.
So in terms of excitement, like the divisional games, to me, maybe this is like different than a lot of people's opinion. To me, that's like, well, that I expect that every year. Like, I don't need that to be a primetime one because it's like I always see us play this team. You know what I mean? Um, so the
Yep.
one I'm really excited for is Monday night against the Bengals early in the season because last year we played the Bengals and it was maybe the game of the year. It was back and forth and went into overtime. Bengals ended up winning. And at the time, it kept their playoff hopes alive because they needed the Broncos to lose all their games. They needed uh, to win all their games. So that was a big help. So I'm excited about that one. I also think later in the season, sometimes they flex out different primetime
Mhm.
matchups. And
Yep.
so one I have kind of circled as a possibility is week 15. We play the Packers. Right now, it's not prime time. The Sunday night football game that week is Vikings Cowboys. And I think there's a real possibility that that game is not super important by week 15. And
Yeah.
if the Packers are good, if the Broncos are good, I could see them moving that into a more high profile spot.
All right. Well, let's hope so for our sake. We love to see our teams in prime time. Seahawks, they have four as well. Uh, two Thursdays. Rams, mentioned before, which stinks. I do not like everyone watching the Seahawks play the Rams because they look like doofuses when they do it. Um, and so I don't like everyone seeing that. And the Cardinals is another Thursday that they have, which are always terrible and cursed. But Seahawks usually win those. And then there's a Monday against the Texans, which is strange. Uh, and then that's part of a doubleheader, and it's not the Joe Buck Troy Aikman one. Stinks, double stink. Um,
So what is that, like
and
week
so
2 or something?
It's a little later.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know when exactly, but it's like in the middle part of the like in the yeah, like maybe like 6 or 7, I think I want to say. But yeah, so it's part of a doubleheader, and it's not the cool one, so that'll stink. It starts at like 10 Eastern, which isn't a problem for me, but is a problem for those folks. But then they also have a Sunday, which is my favorite prime time, Sunday night, always has been.
Waiting all day.
And Been waiting all day, and that's against the Commanders. So, just as a brief note on primetime games, we talked about this off wax yesterday. I used to look forward to primetime games a lot because I liked it when it was the case that the Seahawks were usually the better team going into the game. Now they're getting put on primetime almost as much as they used to when they were really good, but now they're not the better team in a lot of these. So I used to be really excited for national games, primetime slots. I do not look forward to the nation watching us get kicked around by the Commanders, which is what I'm thinking will happen. Um, and so, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword because if they're good, then it'll be fine. But if they are what I think they will be, which is just okay, um, it'll be hard. And that's a Dan Quinn revenge game. And for God's sake, if I have to watch Bobby Wagner play against the Seahawks one more time, I'll end it all. And I'm gonna have to watch that, barring something crazy happening. I'll have to watch that later this year again. So that'll be fun. Okay, so we'll talk about week 1 when it comes time. We'll shelve that. The last thing I wanted to mention about prime time, just briefly, is because I thought it was crazy. The Cowboys and or the Chiefs will be in one of the primetime slots all but 5 weeks of the NFL season. One of those spots will feature the Chiefs or the Cowboys and or the Cowboys. A lot of those weeks they're together on different ones, including Thanksgiving Day, a matchup against each other, which will be interesting. But if you thought you were getting too much Cowboys and too much Chiefs before, you have not seen anything. Because this year they really went hammer on
At
both of those
least the
teams.
Chiefs, like, I'm not, that doesn't make me happy, but at least the Chiefs have, like, they've won 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls. They've kind of earned it in a way.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Cowboys, like, why are they still the team we're being forced to watch so often? I don't get it.
America's
they
team,
they still
baby.
pull the ratings, and that's what you get. And that's one week 1 note that we can make here is that the Cowboys are playing the Eagles in week 1. That's the championship defense, matchup. You'd like a better game, but the Cowboys fans bring the ratings, so you gotta have it. Um, all right, so let's end the show with our dingers and stingers. We will run through these, and so let's start with the bad and end with the good. So let's start with the stingers, and let's go to Matt first.
Yeah, so for my stinger, um, it does have to do with football, and it kind of revolves around this whole idea that's been bouncing around sports recently of leagues trying to like prevent tanking and what measures can be used to do that. And for some reason, it seems like people around the league think that the NFL still has a tanking problem and that the resolution for that is a draft lottery. I will never understand the point of a draft lottery because I really don't think it stops teams from tanking. On top of it, only punishes the bad teams. So if you're trying to keep small markets down, if you're trying to keep bad teams bad, then sure, implement a lottery. Why not? But, I look at the recent examples of like the NBA where, the last 5 years of teams with the worst record haven't drafted in the top four. And to me, that's crazy.
The NBA
And
is,
now,
I'm almost certain it's rigged, and I'm not usually a conspiracy
well,
theorist.
yeah,
That's
I was
something
gonna say,
else.
and now that's a whole other thing that they're gonna have to deal with and kind of answer for because they decided to go the route of having the lottery. And I don't think that the lottery makes a lot of sense in general, let alone for the NFL. So the fact that it's kind of gaining momentum in any capacity, even just as like a future thought, scares me a little bit because I really do believe the NFL does not have the integrity to have a lottery fair.
Yeah. Yeah, an NFL draft lottery would be, a wild thing, and it'd be very interesting to see if they, consider shaking up that after such a long time of it
Yeah.
being fine.
Yeah.
But all right, so stinger number two, let's go to Drew for that.
Just a quick note on Matt's point. The MLB started doing a lottery last year, which is funny to me because it usually takes a while for players in baseball to go from the draft to impacting the major league team. Uh, the historically bad White Sox from last year, worst record of all time, picking 10th
Mhm.
in the draft. um,
Well, let's
so,
not complain
Well, I
too
was
much
gonna
about the
say,
MLB lottery. I think that works out okay.
yeah.
well,
Um,
I could be wrong on this, but did I not hear that the Rockies are also barred from like
Yeah,
they can't?
there's some kind of rule, and I'm not a draft knower, but there's some
Sure.
kind of rule with it where like the White Sox were ineligible to even have like a top six pick or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, I can't remember why. But yeah, anyway, my stinger for the week. I'm going outside of baseball. I'm going outside of football. Uh,
got to.
my the best player on my favorite basketball team, Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics, tore his Achilles. Celtics were already, I mean, they ended up winning yesterday, so they're still alive for now, but they already were not winning games they should have won against the Knicks, but Jason Tatum was playing well, and now he's going to miss a year, most likely. We'll see, it's a hard injury to come back from. It's just a huge bummer. Like we talked about with
Aaron
Tristan.
Rodgers did it really quickly.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Still
huge
working
bummer.
on
We
it.
talked about Tristan Casas' injury. It's similar, but also Jason Tatum is, on a Hall of Fame path. And he kind of gets a weird, like, I'm not the biggest basketball guy, but something I've noticed and I've seen other people comment on, it's like he gets a weird amount of hate from like basketball media. Like he's kind of a corny guy, whatever, but like they talk about him like, he doesn't have that fight in him. He's not like a clutch player, whatever. This is the guy who has the most points ever in a game seven. He had like a 51 point game seven a few years ago against the Sixers. He's won a championship now. He has come through in big moments time and time again. So I'm not really sure where that comes from. But now, yeah, we don't get to see him for a while. Celtics already have some roster finagling they have to do, and now they'll be missing their best player for a year. We'll see what happens to this team. I have faith in the decision makers and all that, but yeah, after the high of last year, it's just a real bummer to sink to now.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Heartbreaking for him. But that's one of the things. I don't even have an NBA team or like, follow the NBA very much. That's one of the things that reaches me. So it's like, it's big when it reaches me because, yeah, I do not follow that. But yeah, so, hopefully, when he's back, he'll be back all the way and he can keep on going. But yeah, for now, such a bummer. All right, let's end with the good though, and let's go to dingers. So Matt, give us your dinger for the week.
Yeah, my dinger has to absolutely be the Charger schedule release video. Every year they just seem to put out some masterpiece of comedy, perfectly kind of walking the line of roasting their opponents while not being like too disrespectful. And this year, again, their video was hilarious. And there was so many little Easter eggs in it. It was all set in Minecraft, very on theme for this year. Um, yeah, I look forward to their schedule release every year because it's just I love it. It's such a funny thing.
Nice. Yeah, the schedule release videos have been getting better and better. As
Did you see the Browns?
I didn't. What happened?
Look up the Browns video. I
All right.
don't know if I even could show it on here for everybody, but go
Great.
look up the Browns video. It may be one of the worst videos I've ever seen ever.
All right.
Um, could have been my dinger or my stinger this week.
One of those.
I gotta say, I don't watch these very much because I'm kind of to the point where it's like, okay, now they're stuck in a loop where they have to outdo themselves every year,
Right.
and it's just not going to be possible. Like I just want to know the games. If a couple teams can do funny ones, great. But now they all try to do it, and I'm kind of over it. That's my take. I didn't even see the
Okay,
Chargers.
boomer.
I didn't see the Chargers. I'll go back and watch it. They are one of the better social media teams, so
Yeah.
um, I'll look into that. But as a whole, we don't all need to do a video. We don't.
You
Um,
know,
yeah,
it
go ahead.
reminds me of a personal story I want to tell just quickly. When I was back in high school, we would have a summer camp every year with the youth group I was part of. And part of, during the week, you were split into teams and you played games all week. And at the end of the week, there was a winning team based on points. But a lot of the points that you got was off of your team cheers at the end of every day,
Mhm.
right? So you craft the cheer and you make it good and you go out and perform it. And one year, one of my good friends, who remains my friend to this day, he changed the game by making his cheers different parts of a full story. So the story continued throughout the whole week. And that team won by a large margin that year because of the points they got from their cheers that are no longer cheers, but are, long thought out storylines. From that point on, everybody knew the standard was you got to create a week long story and, act it out, parse it out. It made the whole thing, as someone who was crafting those skits and stories, made the whole thing very stressful. And so it's like ratcheting up the ladder here. Same things happening with these release videos, schedule release videos. But okay, so let's end with Drew's dinger for the week, and some good news.
Yeah, my dinger this week, it was kind of just like a small moment that I thought was really cool. The other night, the Giants had a home game, and it was Korean Heritage Night. So a lot of Koreans came to the park. Um, Special for them because Jung-Hoo Lee, one of the only Korean players in Major League Baseball, is on the Giants. And on that night, he hit a home run. It's a cool video to watch because they just, they show the home run and then they flash to the stands and people going crazy. And I just think that's always cool when stuff like that happens. And we can't fully appreciate it because we're American and so many of the players are American and they all play the games here. And it's just not, we don't have that same kind of connection to it. But I have to imagine for those fans there, that was a really cool moment, and it was cool to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, last night, uh, Hyesung Kim, another Korean player in MLB, hit his first career home run for the Dodgers last night. So big week for Korean fans of Major League Baseball. The party continues. So that's great. But all right, so that's it for this week's episode. We had a great time building our rosters, talking about different parts of the NFL schedule. We always enjoy this time. If you watch, thanks for watching. Comment below your thoughts on the NFL schedule, your team, what you think you got going on. Comment who you want to see on Team USA in the WBC. If we missed anybody, let us know. Also, share us around if you can, if you like the show, and also follow us on Instagram at Dingers and Stingers. Is there a pod in there?
I think it's just at Dingers and Stingers.
Let's see. I can do it. Yeah, just Dingers and Stingers.
At Dingers and Stingers on Instagram. Follow us there so for more fun. But that's it for this week. And until next week, take care, and we will see you then.
Bye.